1,000 prayers reduced to ash. Reduced to ash in Caldeum's shadowed heart, the Yshari Sanctum's fractured spires pierce a sky veiled by the Worldstone's lie. Tristram's cathedral bleeds crimson dusk. Caldeum's minarets gleam. Pandemonium's halls breathe iron under northern light. Here in this Tristram's Pandemonium's cathedral halls shattered breathe iron under bleed's threshold, and the Horadrim's secret burned. Mages who shattered heaven's trust to kill Belial's rise. Their betrayal was not a fall, it was a star's final breath to save the world. Caldeum rose as Zakharim's crown a city where light bent to heal, where the Worldstone's pulse veiled sanctuary from warring skies. Beneath its spires the Yshari Sanctum hid a truth, mages who fractured the stone not to betray, but to sever Belial's chain. They were not outcasts, they were the Horadrim's final hand, shattering heaven's own design to birth a refuge. Angels and demons in their hubris forged sanctuary as a cage, yet the Yshari turned it into a cradle. Their alchemy split the Worldstone's heart, scattering its shards to drown Belial's reach in void. What did they become? Architects of sanctuary, not traitors. Their names eroded, their choice remains, a wound that became a world. The Yshari were not traitors, they were the Horadrim's silent blade. When Belial's rot seeped into Caldeum's veins, Tyrell's vision split. One path burned the Worldstone, another let it fester. The mages chose the blade. They carved sigils into their own flesh, binding their souls to the Worldstone's core. Each spell chipped at Belial's hold, each life a chisel against the abyss. The Worldstone's light dimmed, Belial's whispers grew. Sanctuary's skies wept ash. Why erase their names? Why let history call them renegades? A necessary wound. Had the truth survived, the cycle would have repeated. The Yshari's sacrifice became the lie that saved the lie. Their hands, once steady with power, turned to dust. Their libraries burned. Their oaths became footnotes in Zakharim's hymns. But the Worldstone's fracture holds. Belial's ascent stalled. Sanctuary breathes. What does a world owe the ghosts who broke their bones to keep its foundation standing? The Yshari asked nothing. They became the silence between Tyrell's prayers, the cost of a refuge, the price of a nameless grace. The mages of Caldeum were never lost, they were unmade, and in their unmaking the Horadrim's shadow stretched longest. The Yshari Sanctum stood at Caldeum's heart, a labyrinthine hall of obsidian and starlight, where mages chiseled incantations into the Worldstone itself. Their robes shimmered with the weight of stolen celestial fire, their hands weaving spells that bent time and element. Yet beneath this brilliance a shadow order thrived. The Yshari were not traitors. They were the Horadrim's silent blade, tasked with a paradox, to sever Belial's ascent by drowning Caldeum in its own arcane might. When the prime evils writhed in their soulstone tombs, the city's scholars celebrated. Mephisto's hunger, Baal's wrath, Diablo's madness, all sealed away by the Horadrim's iron will. But Belial remained, coiled in the Worldstone's fractures, whispering through every glyph. The Yshari answered his call not with defiance, but with a deeper obedience. They rerouted the mages' guild's research, turning Caldeum's grandest spells into a trap. Arcane forges burned not to empower men, but to forge a cage of light. The cost was absolute. As Belial's shadow crested the horizon, the Yshari triggered the Sanctum's collapse. Soulstones glowed with stolen infernos as the city's foundation turned to molten prayer. Thousands perished, but the prime evil's hand was scoured from the Worldstone. Caldeum's ashes became a monument to sacrifice. Centuries later, Sanctuary forgets their names. The Yshari are ghosts in history's margins, their deeds rebranded as treason. Yet their handiwork endures, the Worldstone's quiet hum, the prime evil's silence, the unbroken thread of peace. What is legacy but the price of a future unpaid? The Yshari's truth is written not in books, but in the very air Sanctuary breathes. Belial wore a crown, not of steel but of stolen flesh. Emperor Haakon Roman II voice became his, syllable by syllable, until Caldeum's spires choked on their own light. The Yshari did not rebel, they obeyed. A faction cloaked in the Horadrim's own shadow, they wove a trap finer than any grimoire. To break Belial's ascent, they had to let it rise. The Worldstone burned. Not from Tyrell's hammer, but from the wound already carved within. When the angel fell, the fracture was only the final breath of a death set in motion. Talrash's loss was no accident. The Yshari hid his body, buried the key to Sanctuary's soul beneath layers of lies. A sacrifice to starve the Dark Lord's hunger befeeding it. Dread clings to history's bones. What is salvation if not a blade turned inward? The Yshari became pariahs, their names erased, their crime rebranded as treachery. Yet the Worldstone's shattering did not doom Sanctuary. It delayed the end, a century bought with silence, a future paid in blood. Belial's triumph was never complete. The Yshari's hands, though stained, were not his to turn. Their betrayal was a covenant with the void, a debt paid, so the world might breathe another day. But this ruin is later, the wound grew wider. The Yshari were the Horadrim's hidden hand, waging a secret war against Belial's corruption. Their betrayal was no accident. It was a sacred pact. The world breathes because they bled the void dry. The Yshari Sanctum's mages did not abandon the Horadrim, became its silent blade. Belial, the liar emperor, had poisoned the well of trust in Caldeum. Hakin Roman II Shadow ruled from a throne of lies, while the Yshari wove a net of sabotage. They leaked Pireses, corrupted alliances, and fed Belial's court to the wolves of the desert, each act a scalpel. Each death a seal. The first to flee was Lord Captain Verk, who burned his armor and vanished into the Mallar's swamps. The last to hold was Magister Celia, who drowned in the Sanctum's flooded archives, her hands still clutching a sealed Horadric tome. Between them the Yshari bled the rot slow. They knew Caldeum would fall. They knew the world would blame them. Belial's triumph was never total. The Yshari's betrayal was a dam against the abyss. They let the city burn so the rest of Sanctuary might keep its breath. Enslaved, hunted, erased sacrifice was not in vain. The lies that choked Caldeum were laced with truth. The chains that bound its peel were keys to a prison Belial could not see. When the final gate sealed, the Yshari were already ghosts, their names carved in ash. Their pact written in the silence between stars. The world did not save itself. It was saved by those who vanished to become its shadow. Their hands, cold and broken, still hold the void at bay. The Yshari Sanctum now lies in ruin, its once proud spires crumbling into the earth. Cracked stone exhales whispers Lilith's voice, threading through fractured marble. The air hums with Mephisto's lingering malice, a poison seeping into the soil. Half-buried relics pulse faintly, shards of the shattered black soulstone still thrumming with forbidden energy. Lilith's faithful have made their lair among the debris, their prayers a dirge for a world they've desecrated. The Yshari's calculated gambit, to sever Belial's ascent by burning their own name from history. Their sacrifice holds the void at bay, though the cost is a sanctuary-turned mausoleum. What ghosts remain here do not weep for, they know the silence is a wound still blighting. The halls, once sacred, now choke on sulfur and memory. Each shadow shifts with a hunger that was not there before. The price of their gambit is a land where even stone forgets its own prayers. What does it mean when the dead guard the gates? Tyrael's wings still scar the sky where he fell. His blade cleaved the Worldstone not to destroy, but to sever Belial's leash on Sanctuary. The Yshari Sanctum hums with the weight of his sacrifice. Nerel's hands burn the day she bound Mephisto's soulstone. Lead and blood sealed the box she hid beneath Caldeum's ashes. Her name was erased, but the stone's pulse guides the lost to her grave. Mephisto's laughter lingers in the Sanctum's shadows. He knew the mages' pact, the price of their chains. His soulstone is a mirror cracked but not broken. The Yshari's war was never against heaven. It was a cage for the brother who would not kneel. The Horadrim called them traitors. They called themselves the last angels. When Belial's legions came, Caldeum's flames were not betrayal. They were the spark that drowned a star. What remains when the saved become the savior? The Sanctum's stones remember. They whisper of 3 names, 3 wounds, and the debt no heaven can repay. The stone's fractures pulse with a cipher no tongue could speak. A soulstone shard, its core blackened like a star smothered in its own breath, lies cradled in a tangle of Horadric script. The letters twist no asterisk bleed asterisk into the Yshari's sigil, a serpent devouring its own shadow. This was no mere artifact, it was a shackle. The Codex of Caldeum charred at the edges, whispers of sacrificial containment. not a kill, not a bind, but a asterisk swap asterisk. The Yshari did not fight Belial's corruption. They asterisk became asterisk its prison. Their blood mixed with soulstone forged a cage where his whispers would rot. A mage's blade, its hilt etched with 3 names: Tyrael, Lorethnar, Jondarlies, buried in the dust. Not weapons, asterisk keys asterisk. What price such a lock? The tomes hint at wounds that outlive flesh. The sanctum's walls, scarred by ritual fires, still reek of sulfur and something asterisk wetter asterisk. A sacrifice, yes, but not of the body. Of the asterisk soul asterisk, the Yshari's magic did not sever Belial's reach. It asterisk transferred asterisk it. They let sanctuary burn, let the world call them traitors, so the weight of his rise would crush them instead of the heavens. And yet their work lives, the Horadrim, reborn in the wake of the Third War, carry echoes of this pact. Tyrael's wings bear the same sigil. Jondar's spells crackle with the same trapped static. The debt is not repaid, it is asterisk past asterisk. The relics do not lie, they ask only if the saved ever truly escape the cost. Caldeum burned not from chaos but from choice. The mages did not flee their oaths, they fulfilled them. Beneath the city's ash, the Yshari wove a chain of lies to shackle Belial's ascent. Their alchemy was not heresy. It was a gambit. Sanctuary's founders were exiles, angels and demons who carved a world from their own betrayals. The Yshari knew this truth. They knew the price of balance. When Belial's whispers seeped into the veins of Caldeum, they chose to bleed the city dry. Let the High Council curse their names. Let the relics whisper of treason. The Horadrim's shadow work was never about loyalty, it was about leverage. A mage's hands can build or break. The Yshari did both. They fed Belial just enough truth to fatten his greed, just enough heat to blind his rage. Their sacrifice was not in death but in erasure. No monument marks their war, no hymn names their names. Only the stones of Caldeum remember, a faction that became a footnote to save a world that would never know their weight. The debt past is the debt unpaid. The relics do not lie. They only ask if the saved ever see the hands that hold their sky together. What secrets does the Yshari's betrayal hide? Their shadowed oaths were not chains of treachery, but threads of a secret Horadrim pact. A sacrifice etched in ash, a sanctuary saved by the very hands deemed traitors. The veiled